Thanks everyone for coming to hear the story. We've been working in Ecuador now since about 2014, and we have two companies there. Lumina Gold is our larger and more advanced company, and then we have a sister company, Luminex Resources, that we spun out about a year ago. So I'll spend most of my time talking about Cangrejos and Lumina Gold today, and then just quickly touch on Luminex. So, I'll start with the group. It's really the same group behind the Lumina Copper stories, the same technical team and management that has put all these companies that have been sold behind me. The strategy here is really the same for Lumina Gold. It is advance, de-risk, and then look to monetize the asset. And we think we've done a lot of work that is getting us ready for that here in the near term for Lumina Gold. So where do we sit at Cangrejos right now? We did a PEA in 2018 and really outlined the 14th largest primary gold development asset in the world. The PEA showed about a 16-year mine life, producing almost 400,000 ounces a year at about $570 AISC cash costs when you net off the copper. The asset's about 80% gold, 20% copper. Last week, we put out a new resource which incorporated about 40,000 meters of drilling we've done since 2017, brought in a satellite deposit that's not in the PEA I just mentioned, and that really made us the 38th largest primary gold deposit in the world, full stop. So we're sitting at about just over 10 million ounces of indicated right now, and 6 million ounces of inferred. So about 17 million ounces of gold at the project and 2.2 billion pounds of copper. So really a massive deposit. What are we doing? We're working right now to update the mine plan to bring in the satellite deposit, and then we'll use that to update the PEA in Q2 next year. So Ecuador, why did we pick Ecuador? Well, we had a view that it was changing and evolving and going to become a good mining jurisdiction. It's really the last place that hasn't been systematically explored in South America. There's numerous companies working there proving that now. Really, all the large major copper companies are there. Some gold guys are starting to come in. They're a bit slower than the copper guys. And in the last month here, we've seen Mirador, a large copper project being brought online by the Chinese, and we've seen Fruta del Norte, a world-class underground development asset, being brought into production by Lundin Gold. So those will be the first two industrial-scale mines in the country, and we view that as a significant positive for the jurisdiction here. So just the history, this used to be a Newmont project. We're down in the southwest of Ecuador. Nice thing about the project, and what you usually don't find a project this scale, is we're by infrastructure. So we're 40 kilometers from a deep sea port. We have hydropower to site. We have no communities on the deposit, roads to almost up to the site, and an airport that's about an hour's drive from the camp. So very close to infrastructure. This all helps when you look at the cost side of the equation for a giant porphyry like this. So a bit of evolution of the resource here. When we started at the project in 2014, there was no resource. In January 2017, we incorporated the Newmont drilling and some of our own drilling and put out an initial 4 million ounce resource. That pit was about 350, 400 meters deep. Then we drilled deeper and we found a couple hundred meters of 2 gram per ton gold, 0.3% copper, materially higher grade. That allowed us to drive a much deeper pit at the project, and that was the 8.8 million ounces there. And that's really the pit that we did the PEA on in 2018. And then you can see our new resource that we just released last week. So these are the two deposits as it stands right now. We've got the Cangrejos one in the south of the diagram. This is the majority of the resource. Everything at this deposit has really been done to a PFS level right now. Gran Bestia is a bit earlier stage, so that's really why we're going to update it from a PEA perspective instead of going straight to a PFS, and see what that looks like when you incorporate the satellite deposit as well. The cross section I'm going to show you on the next is the red line going across here. So this is the two pits as it stands right now, the blue line. You can see in the northwest, it's still totally open. That last vertical hole you see on the northwest side, that's where we stopped the resource because we had to cut it off at some point. But there's really no reason to think that it doesn't just keep going. On that particular ridgeline, the breccias go right to surface. So this is the new combined project. So the PEA we did in 2018 on just Cangrejos, it really outlined, what we thought is a buildable project in today's environment. Obviously, there's not a lot of $3 billion, $4 billion projects getting built right now. So we wanted to start out with a buildable project that would start at the 40,000 ton per day level. You could build that for about $830 million. And then organically fund an expansion to the 80,000 ton per day level. That gets you up over 400,000 ounces of production a year. So at $1,300 gold and $325 copper, that got you an NPV of about $920 million. Since then, the government's reduced the royalty regime, which helps a bit. You get to pick up about $80 million of value there. If you ran this at kind of $1,500 gold and $260 copper, it would kick out about a $1.3 billion NPV against our market cap of about $140 million US right now, just for reference. This is how we viewed the project coming together with the PEA. So you can see the ultimate pit there, a primary crusher to an overland conveyor. We really looked at doing a gravity concentrate that would get you your gold and silver, and then floating a copper concentrate that would be high quality in the sense that it's 21% copper, very clean, high gold content, and obviously you're right by that deep sea port right there, so helpful. Also looking at dry stack tailings for the facility, which will help with permitting, tightening up the footprint of the project, and will help when somebody goes to build this project. Some of the things we're doing to improve the economics on this is really working on the metallurgy a bit. So in the PEA, there's a thin layer of saprolite on the surface. We had treated it as waste. It had about 300,000 ounces of gold in it. We'll be bringing that in the next update here. The metallurgy showed that we can add a CIP plant into the flow sheet and pick up about 70% recovery out of that sap rock. We can also enhance the recovery on the partially oxidized material that was about 5% of the mine plan, and then similar recoveries to what we saw in the last round of the PEA on the primary sulfide material. So that should all help enhance the economics on the front end as well. So it's easy to say it's big. How big is it? It is the 14th largest project by scale right now. The other telling thing on this chart is that the blue bars are projects that are held by majors or intermediate producers. Cangrejos is the 5th largest that's held by an independent, which is the yellow bars you see there. And I think if you start to look to the left-hand side of this page and start to handicap some of those projects, whether it's $6 billion capex or maybe in a tougher area to build, what have you, you see that there's not a lot of buildable projects out there that are this scale. And we think that bodes well for the company when majors are going to look to replace reserves in the mid-2020s. So in summary, on Lumina Gold, we've successfully drilled 40,000 meters over the last 2 years. We've over doubled the size of the resource again, and we continue to improve the engineering and metallurgy. As I mentioned, we think the value is compelling here relative to the size of our market cap. Obviously, Ecuador has a discount to the Western market. We don't disagree with that, but right now that discount's about half on an NPV basis in the market, and we just think that's too wide. The last slide I'll touch on here is our sister company, Luminex Resources. In this company we have 3 key assets. We have our Condor project that we're drilling ourselves. We just had a high-grade discovery there, about 40 meters of 5 gram per ton material right underneath the camp. We already have an existing 4 million ounce resource there of lower grade material. We're hoping that this new high grade zone will be able to unlock the potential at the asset. That'll have a new resource coming out in probably Q1 in 2020. Then on our early stage copper projects, we have 2 earn-ins. We have BHP as a partner on one and Anglo American as a partner on the other. Between the 2 of them, they'll be investing $100 million US to earn into to the projects. So with that, I'd encourage everyone to check out Luminex when you have a bit more time in detail. Thank you.